Paint's all stripped off the two tail strakes. I used a zip strip. The first coat, the yellow came off pretty good. I was kind of doing this between other projects, so I took a plastic bag and put each one of them in a plastic bag and then coated all 4, 5 sides, whatever there is on there, with a zip strip. Stuck it in the plastic bag and then set them out there to cook for a while. If I'd left them out while I was doing everything, that zip strip can dry out and then it gets to be a pain to get off. Of course, one of the problems with that stuff is once it dries on, if you don't get it completely cleaned off and it gets wet, it activates and it'll strip paint or it'll cause corrosion in the aluminum. It took me 2 tries for this. The first time I got the yellow paint off, and then the second time I got the primer off. I got most of the primer off of it. It's going to take a little bit to get a couple of spots off of it, but that should scratch right off. So there's a little bit of corrosion, mainly around where these screw heads were, and that's been that way for quite a while. Pretty corroded there. So I have to get my angle die grinder and some Scotch-Brite pads. Might take a little sandpaper to start with. Get that polished down and then dunk it in the Alumiprep and Scotch-Brite it, get it good and bright, clean, and then before we paint it again. I'd set this stuff up on my work table with a piece of plastic. This is a piece of plastic I had on there when I was doing the fiberglassing. I didn't want to contaminate it. I had another scrap piece of plastic from my paint booth I put over the top of that, and that's what I laid on there. You can see the residual paint and paint stripper on that. Now I can just throw that away and I still have a clean table here. Nitrile gloves don't work on this stuff, that zip strip, at all. It eats right through them and into your skin. Oh, you need rubber gloves or something else on to work with that stuff. Keep lots of water close at hand to wash it off when it gets on you in places. You know it right away when it gets on you because it starts burning. I got the 2 tail strakes pretty well cleaned up with the Scotch-Brite pads on that die grinder. You still see the pits and stuff in here. They can't really grind that all the way out or you wouldn't have any metal left on that. But I got them polished up pretty good. These were cut out, I think, on a CNC router, and they didn't do anything to clean up these edges or anything on there, and these holes all had burrs on them, so I got those all deburred. Well, I got both of them pretty well cleaned up. So I got a bucket of Alumiprep, Alumibrite, whatever you can call it, and I'll wash those down with that real good and scrub them out and make sure it gets into these pits and stuff and that corrosion, and kind of cleans that out, and then wash them off. Well, after I stripped the paint off of these and went over them with the Scotch-Brite at the die grinder, got all the residual paint that wouldn't come off and kind of polished them off and got down in, deburred them, got down where the corrosion was on these screw holes. Of course, worse on the inside here, which is actually the outside. And I got those all cleaned up on both of these. And I've got a bucket that I keep some solution of Alumiprep or Alumibrite or whatever you want to call it. It's basically phosphoric acid. I've got a bucket that I keep that in, and these small parts and stuff, I'll dunk that in that and scrub them in that with a Scotch-Brite pad. And I let these soak in there a little bit so that it would eat out all of the corrosion and stuff out of these pits. So I got those all cleaned up and brightened up, and then I took some iodine solution and applied to them. And I don't know why that stuff always goes on mottled like that. You'd think I used to be able to get a nice even golden coat on them, but it seems like anymore they're always mottled. I don't know whether that's just the way the Alclad is on there or what the deal is on that, but it seems like it always comes out like that anymore. I'll clean that up and mix up some DP48 and spray a coat of primer on those, and then we'll put a finish coat on them with the yellow like we did everything else. Well, those tail strakes are covered in primer, coated in primer now. I used the DP48 LP. They've changed the formula on this stuff. This is lead-free now, DP48 LF, and they've changed some other stuff in it, I guess. Anyway, it's different than the old paint was. The old DP40, I used to spray it over wash primer, and then you could put the finish coat over that. Now this new stuff, this DP40 LP, DP48 LP, they say don't put it over that I forget what the number of that wash primer is, 1701 or something, but anyway, they say don't use it over that. I did use it over the Aladyne. The old DP40 also, they said that wasn't usable as a primer sealer. You just had to coat it right away with something. It didn't protect the underlying metal, except for just for the immediate time being, not for any length of time. This new stuff, they say that you can use it as a primer sealer if you thin it, and the thinner for this is acetone. So I put a little bit of acetone in that, thinned it down, and that helped it get into all those pits and stuff. I guess it was pretty thin. Put a couple coats on it thin, and then came back over it a couple more times. It's not bright and shiny, but it is covered everything, and it went into those pits pretty good. So that's gonna stay the way it is until I got some more parts to paint. I still have to make some trim pieces and stuff for around the windows and a couple other places. So I'll just get these in the primer now to protect them. Once you got it washed with acid edge solution and Aladyne, you need to coat it pretty quickly with something that'll keep it from corroding. That'll be protected now. I'll go ahead and let it dry down here and put it up in the basement out of the way where it won't get any water or anything on it, and wait until I get enough stuff gathered up together for a paint job to mix the yellow paint up. I don't know what it is about this painting, but it seems like you can sit out here forever and never see a bug, but as soon as you start squirting paint, the bugs show up from everywhere. Oh, I started getting little bugs in there and that stuff. So between coats, I went and got a little mosquito coil. We used to call those pick coils. Anyway, they got perithium flour or something in them, and they smolder and put off smoke that keeps the bugs away, although that bug just went right through the smoke. But anyway, after I put that up there, I didn't get any more of those little bugs in my paint, but